First contact. Unexpected allies. The vast expanse of space had always beckoned humanity, its endless frontier promising adventure and discovery. But nothing could have prepared them for the day they finally made contact with an alien civilization. It was the year 2157 when the United Earth Space Exploration Vessel Horizon detected an anomalous signal emanating from a distant star system. Captain Elena Rodriguez, a seasoned explorer with a reputation for level-headedness, made the decision to investigate. As the Horizon approached the source of the signal, the crew's excitement was palpable. "Unknown vessel detected," announced Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. "It's unlike anything we've ever seen, Captain." The alien ship that materialized before them was a marvel of engineering, its sleek lines and iridescent hull seeming to defy the laws of physics. Captain Rodriguez took a deep breath, steeling herself for humanity's first interaction with an extraterrestrial species. "Open a channel," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. The view screen flickered to life, revealing beings that were both familiar and alien. They had a vaguely humanoid shape, but their skin shimmered with an otherworldly bioluminescence, and their large, multifaceted eyes regarded the human crew with unmistakable curiosity. "I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earth Space Exploration Vessel Horizon," she began, choosing her words carefully. "We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge." There was a tense moment of silence before one of the aliens stepped forward. When it spoke, its words were translated through the ship's advanced AI. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Zarquin, and we too seek friendship and knowledge. Your arrival was foretold in our ancient prophecies." Over the next few weeks, the crew of the Horizon engaged in a whirlwind of cultural exchange with the Zarquin. The aliens proved to be a peaceful, highly advanced civilization with a deep reverence for science and spirituality. They had achieved interstellar travel centuries ago, but had chosen to remain isolated, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves to the galaxy at large. As the humans and Zarquin shared their histories and philosophies, stark differences in their approaches to conflict resolution became apparent. The Zarquin had long ago abandoned any form of violence, relying instead on complex negotiations and empathic abilities to solve disputes. During one particularly enlightening conversation, Dr. Amelia Chen, the Horizon's chief xenobiologist, posed a question to Zelna, a Zarquin elder. "In all your history, have you never faced a threat that couldn't be resolved through peaceful means?" Zelna's multifaceted eyes shimmered with what the humans had come to recognize as sadness. "We have been fortunate, Dr. Chen. Our isolation has protected us from many of the galaxy's harsher realities, but we fear that may soon change." Captain Rodriguez leaned forward, her interest piqued. "What do you mean, Elder Zelna?" The Zarquin elder activated a holographic display, showing a star map of their local cluster. "We have detected signs of an aggressive species expanding rapidly through this sector. They call themselves the Krell, and they show no interest in diplomacy or peaceful coexistence. They simply take what they want, by force if necessary." The human crew exchanged worried glances. They had hoped that advanced civilizations would have moved beyond such behavior, but it seemed that conflict was a universal constant. "Have you attempted to communicate with them?" asked Commander Jackson, the Horizon's tactical officer. Zelna nodded solemnly. "We have tried many times, but the Krell view our attempts at peaceful dialogue as weakness. They mock our lack of weapons and our refusal to fight." Captain Rodriguez stood up, her expression resolute. "Perhaps it's time for a different approach. Humanity has a long and complicated history with conflict, but we've learned valuable lessons along the way." The Zarquin looked at her with a mixture of hope and apprehension. "What do you propose, Captain?" "A partnership," Rodriguez replied. "You have advanced technology and a deep understanding of galactic diplomacy. We have other skills that might prove useful in dealing with the Krell." Zelma's bioluminescence flickered rapidly, a sign of intense emotion. You speak of violence, of warfare. Such things are anathema to our people." Dr. Chen stepped in, her voice gentle but firm. "With all due respect, Elder Zelna, there's a difference between being peaceful and being harmless. Humanity has learned that sometimes the capacity for controlled violence is necessary to maintain peace." The Horizon's crew spent the next few days explaining Earth's history to the Zarquin, including its wars, its struggles, and the hard-won peace that had finally united their planet. They spoke of the philosophical concept that true peace comes not from the inability to fight, but from the conscious choice not to. As the implications of this new alliance sank in, both species realized they stood at a crossroads. The humans, with their complex history of conflict and resolution, and the Zarquin, with their advanced technology and commitment to peace, had the potential to change the course of galactic history. But as they prepared to face the looming Krell threat together, a new challenge emerged. How would they convince the rest of the galaxy that this unusual partnership between a species known for its capacity for violence and one known for its pacifism was the key to a lasting peace? The answer, they realized, would lie in the trials to come. And as the Horizon prepared to depart for Earth, carrying a delegation of Zarquin diplomats, Captain Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger adventure. Little did they know that their actions in the coming months would not only decide the fate of their two species, but would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. The era of humanity's isolation was over, and the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what this unpredictable species would do next. The Galactic Council's dilemma. The news of humanity's first contact with the Zarquin spread like wildfire across Earth. As the Horizon returned home with its alien delegates, the planet buzzed with excitement and apprehension. The revelation that Earth was not alone in the universe was monumental enough, but the looming threat of the Krell added a sense of urgency to the proceedings. Within months, a joint human-Zarquin delegation was en route to the seat of the Galactic Council, a governing body of advanced civilizations that the Zarquin had long observed, but never joined. The Council convened in a massive space station orbiting a neutron star, its architecture a breathtaking blend of functionality and artistry. As Captain Elena Rodriguez stepped onto the Council floor, flanked by Dr. Amelia Chen and the Zarquin Elder Zelna, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions filled the chamber, their murmurs creating a symphony of alien languages. The Council Arbiter, a towering crystalline entity named Scythe, called the session to order. "We are gathered here to welcome two new species to our ranks." Scythe's melodious voice resonated through the chamber. The Zarquin, longtime observers, and the humans, newcomers to the galactic stage. As formalities were exchanged and histories shared, it became clear that the Council was both intrigued and wary of humanity. The concept of a species that had overcome its violent past, yet retained the capacity for conflict, was foreign to many. "You speak of peace," said Groltak, a gelatinous representative from the Myriad Collective. "Yet your history is stained with the blood of your own kind. How can we trust that you won't bring your wars to the stars?" Captain Rodriguez stood tall, her voice clear and unwavering. "It is precisely because of our history that we value peace so highly. We have learned, through great cost, that true strength lies not in domination, but in cooperation and mutual understanding." The debate raged for days, with various factions forming among the Council members. Some saw the potential in humanity's unique perspective, while others feared the influence of a species that still maintained military capabilities. It was during one of these heated discussions that alarm klaxons suddenly blared throughout the station. The Krell, it seemed, had launched a surprise attack on a nearby system. The Council erupted into chaos. Many representatives called for immediate withdrawal and isolation of their respective worlds. Others demanded diplomatic outreach, clinging to the hope of a peaceful resolution. Amidst the pandemonium, Captain Rodriguez exchanged a knowing glance with Zelna. This was the moment they had prepared for. Esteemed members of the council, Rodriguez's voice cut through the noise, commanding attention. The threat we face cannot be avoided through isolation or appeased through diplomacy alone. The Krell understand only strength, but strength doesn't have to mean unbridled aggression. She activated a holographic display, showing tactical simulations developed jointly by human military strategists and Zarquin scientists. We propose a defensive alliance, one that combines the Zarquin's advanced technology with humanity's strategic experience. We don't seek to destroy the Krell, but to demonstrate that aggression against any of us is futile. The council chamber fell silent as the implications of this proposal sank in. It was Hyleth who finally broke the silence. You suggest we prepare for war to maintain peace. This is a challenging concept for many of us. Dr. Chen stepped forward. With respect, Arbiter, we suggest being prepared to defend ourselves. There's a crucial difference. We hope to never fire a shot, but the Krell must understand that we can and will if pushed. The debate that followed was intense. Some council members were vehemently opposed to any military buildup, seeing it as a step backward for their enlightened civilizations. Others, particularly those from worlds closer to Krell territory, were more receptive to the idea. As the arguments raged, an unexpected voice spoke up. It was Zelna, the Zarquin elder, who had remained mostly silent until now. My people have long believed that peace is the natural state of the universe, Zelna began, his bioluminescence pulsing gently. We still believe this, but we have learned from our human friends that peace must sometimes be guarded. To be peaceful is not to be defenseless. To value life is not to submit to those who would take it. A hush fell over the council. The words of the renowned pacifists carried significant weight. We stand with humanity in this, Zelna continued, not because we seek conflict, but because we seek to preserve the peace we hold dear. We ask you all to consider this path, not with fear, but with hope for a future where all beings can coexist without the shadow of oppression. The council session extended far beyond its scheduled time as the implications of this new paradigm were debated. In the end, a majority vote was reached. The Galactic Council would adopt a policy of defensive readiness, with joint task forces combining the unique strengths of various member species. As the session adjourned, Captain Rodriguez found herself approached by numerous alien representatives, all eager to learn more about humanity's approach to conflict resolution and defense. I never thought I'd see the day when we'd be teaching other species about walking the line between peace and strength, she mused to Dr. Chen. Chen nodded, a small smile on her face. It's a heavy responsibility. We'll need to be careful not to lose ourselves in the process. As they prepared to return to their ship, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The real test would come when theory was put into practice, when the lofty ideals agreed upon in this chamber were challenged by the harsh realities of the universe. The Krell were still out there, expanding, conquering, and now, for the first time, they would face a unified galactic community ready to stand its ground. The peace of the stars hung in the balance, and humanity, for better or worse, found itself at the center of this cosmic drama. As the human Zarquin delegation departed the council station, worlds across the galaxy began to mobilize. The next phase would be crucial, preparing for a confrontation they hoped would never come, but now realized was inevitable. The story of humanity's impact on galactic politics was only beginning to unfold. Preparing for the storm. The months following the Galactic Council's decision were a whirlwind of activity across known space. The Human-Zarquin Alliance found itself at the forefront of a massive mobilization effort, tasked with preparing a galaxy of peaceful species for the possibility of conflict. On a terraformed moon orbiting a gas giant in neutral space, a unique training facility had been established. Here, representatives from various council races gathered to learn the art of defensive warfare from their human instructors. Commander Sarah Chen, younger sister of Dr. Amelia Chen, stood before a diverse group of alien beings. Her voice carried across the training ground, firm and reassuring. Remember, we're not here to create soldiers. We're here to create guardians, she said, her eyes scanning the assembled group. Our goal is to protect, not to conquer. To deter aggression, not to seek it out. The aliens listened intently, some with obvious discomfort, others with growing determination. Among them was Keltur, a young Zarquin who had volunteered despite his species' pacifist leanings. "Commander," Keltur spoke up, his bioluminescence flickering with a mix of curiosity and concern. "How do we reconcile the act of fighting with our peaceful nature?" Sarah smiled, recognizing the weight of the question. "An excellent point, Keltur. Think of it this way. If you saw a friend about to be harmed, would you not step in to protect them? What we're learning here is simply an extension of that principle. We're preparing to protect not just individuals, but entire worlds." As the training progressed, the various species began to find their niches. The crystalline exilithians, with their natural affinity for energy manipulation, excelled in shield technology. The amorphous Groltak proved to be natural infiltrators, able to gather intelligence with unparalleled stealth. But it was the surprising synergy between humans and Zarquin that truly stood out. The Zarquin's advanced empathic abilities, combined with human strategic thinking, led to the development of revolutionary combat doctrines focused on minimizing harm while maximizing defensive capability. Meanwhile, in orbital shipyards across Council space, a new fleet was taking shape. Captain Elena Rodriguez, now promoted to admiral, oversaw the integration of technologies from dozens of species into a unified defensive force. "The key is interoperability," she explained to a group of alien engineers. "Each of our species has unique strengths. Our task is to create a system where these strengths complement each other seamlessly." The result was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Ships with Zarquin neural interfaces, powered by Xylithian crystal matrices, and protected by overlapping shields of human and Groltak design. Each vessel was a testament to what could be achieved through cooperation. But as the military preparations continued, not all efforts were focused on warfare. Dr. Amelia Chen led a multi-species team of diplomats and scientists, tirelessly working to establish communication with the Krell. "We must exhaust every peaceful option," she insisted during a high-level briefing. "Even as we prepare for the worst, we must never stop trying to prevent it." Her team made breakthrough after breakthrough, decoding the intricacies of Krell language and culture. They discovered a society driven by a complex honor system, where strength and conquest were viewed as the highest virtues. "They're not evil," Amelia explained to the council. "They simply have a radically different worldview, one that values expansion and domination above all else. Our challenge is to make them see the strength in our unity, to make them understand that conquering us would be more costly than coexisting with us." As the diplomatic efforts continued, tensions across the galaxy continued to rise. Reports of Krell incursions into Council space became more frequent, each incident a test of the new defensive protocols. It was during one such incursion that the training and preparation faced its first real test. A small Krell fleet entered a star system on the outskirts of Council space, clearly intent on conquest. Admiral Rodriguez, coordinating from a central command ship, watched as the newly formed defense fleet moved into position. "Remember your training," she broadcast to the multi-species crew. "We're here to protect, not to escalate. Let's show them the strength of our unity." The ensuing engagement was brief but intense. The Krell, accustomed to easy victories against unprepared worlds, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Xylithian shields absorbed energy weapons, while Zarquin empaths predicted enemy maneuvers with uncanny accuracy. Human tactics kept the fleet one step ahead, and Groltak infiltrators disrupted Krell communications. In less than an hour, the Krell fleet retreated, leaving behind a handful of disabled ships. As the Council forces began rescue operations for the stranded Krell, a message was broadcast on all frequencies in the Krell language. "We have no desire for war," Admiral Rodriguez's voice rang out, translated into the harsh tones of Krell's speech. But we will not stand idly by while worlds are conquered. We offer you a choice. Engage with us in peaceful dialogue, or continue to face the united strength of the galactic community. As the message faded, a tense silence fell over the command ship. The first real test had been passed, but it was clear that this was only the beginning. The Krell had been given a demonstration of the Council's newfound strength, but would it be enough to bring them to the negotiating table? Back on Earth, in the halls of the newly established Galactic Coordination Center, leaders from across Council space gathered to discuss the implications of this first encounter. The mood was cautiously optimistic, but tinged with the knowledge that harder challenges lay ahead. Humanity had helped to forge a new path for the galaxy, one that balanced the desire for peace with the necessity of strength. But as reports of the battle spread across Council space, a new question began to form in the minds of many. Had they truly prevented a war, or merely delayed the inevitable? As the sun set on another tense day, the stars seemed to watch in silent judgment, waiting to see how this grand experiment in galactic cooperation would unfold. The Battle of New Hope. The tense calm that followed the first encounter with the Krell was short-lived. For months, the newly united Galactic Council had held its breath, hoping that the display of unified strength would be enough to bring the aggressive species to the negotiating table. But the Krell remained ominously silent, their ships pulling back to the fringes of known space. It was on a quiet Tuesday by Earth reckoning that the storm finally broke. New Hope, a joint human-Zarquin colony on the edge of Council space, had been established as a symbol of interspecies cooperation. Its pristine cities and advanced research facilities represented the best of what the Alliance had to offer. It was perhaps for this very reason that the Krell chose it as their target. The first warning came from the long-range sensors developed by the Exilithians. A massive Krell fleet, larger than any seen before, had dropped out of faster-than-light travel on a direct course for New Hope. Admiral Elena Rodriguez, who had been overseeing a training exercise in a nearby system, received the alert with a mix of dread and determination. "This is it," she murmured to her second-in-command, a Zarquin named Velman. "Sound the alarm. All ships to battle stations, and get me a direct line to New Hope's governor." As the defense fleet scrambled to position, the citizens of New Hope began their well-rehearsed evacuation procedures. Governor Liam Chen, Dr. Amelia Chen's cousin, coordinated from the planet's command center, his voice steady as he directed both human and Zarquin colonists to safety. "Remember your training," he broadcast across the colony. "This is not a drill, but neither is it a cause for panic. We are prepared, we are united, and we will stand strong." In orbit, the first waves of Krell ships emerged from hyperspace, their angular, predatory forms a stark contrast to the sleek designs of the Council fleet. Admiral Rodriguez watched as the enemy forces took up attack formations, their numbers seeming to blot out the stars themselves. "This is Admiral Elena Rodriguez of the Galactic Council Defense Force." She transmitted on all frequencies. "Krell fleet, you are in violation of Council space. We urge you to withdraw immediately and open diplomatic channels. We have no desire for conflict, but we will defend our people." The response came in the form of a barrage of energy weapons streaking across space towards the Council ships and the planet below. "So be it," Rodriguez said grimly. "All ships, execute Defense Plan Omega. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. We're not just fighting for ourselves, but for every peaceful species in the galaxy." What followed was a battle unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The Krell, accustomed to overwhelming force and quick victories, found themselves facing an opponent that seemed to anticipate their every move. Zarquin empaths, linked directly to ship systems, predicted enemy maneuvers with uncanny accuracy. Exilithian shield technology, now integrated into all Council ships, absorbed punishment that would have shattered conventional defenses. Groltak infiltrators, having secretly boarded several Krell ships during the initial chaos, began to wreak havoc from within. And at the center of it all were the humans, their tactical acumen and adaptability shining through as they coordinated the diverse forces into a cohesive fighting unit. On the planet's surface, Governor Chen watched in awe as the space above New Hope lit up with the fury of battle. Despite the evacuation, he and a skeleton crew had remained behind to coordinate planetary defenses. "Governor, we've got Krell dropships breaking through," a young Zarquin technician called out, her bioluminescence pulsing with alarm. Chen's eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. "Activate the ground defenses and patch me through to Admiral Rodriguez." In orbit, Rodriguez received the communication amidst a flurry of activity on her bridge. "Governor, we're a little busy up here," she said, her voice strained but composed. "Admiral, they're landing troops," Chen reported. "We need support on the ground." Rodriguez cursed under her breath. The battle in space was finely balanced. Diverting resources to the surface could tip the scales. But leaving the colonists to fend for themselves was not an option. "Understood, Governor. Help is on the way." She turned to her tactical officer. "Deploy the peacekeepers." Across the Council fleet, specially designed drop pods were launched towards the planet's surface. Inside each was a mixed team of human and alien soldiers, trained in the new doctrines of defensive warfare. They had dubbed themselves peacekeepers, a name that encapsulated their mission to defend peace through strength. As the pods streaked through the atmosphere, the battle on New Hope's surface was already raging. Krell shock troops, fearsome in their bio-augmented armor, pushed towards the colony's central districts. They were met not with panic or easy submission, but with a determined and well-coordinated defense. Colonists who had trained for this very scenario manned barricades and operated defense turrets. Zarquin used their empathic abilities to coordinate movements and warn of incoming threats. Humans, with their military experience, directed the tactical flow of the battle. When the peacekeepers landed, they brought with them a new level of expertise and firepower. Led by Commander Sarah Chen, they quickly turned the tide of the ground battle. "Remember, our goal is to repel, not to destroy," Sarah shouted as her team engaged a group of Krell warriors. "Show them the futility of their aggression." The fighting was intense, with both sides taking heavy losses. But slowly, inexorably, the defenders of New Hope began to push the Krell back. In space, the battle had reached a critical juncture. The Krell fleet, for the first time in their history, found themselves on the defensive. Admiral Rodriguez, seeing an opportunity, made a bold decision. "All ships, focus fire on their flagship," she ordered. "Let's cut the head off this snake." The combined firepower of the Council fleet converged on the massive Krell command ship. For a moment, it seemed to shrug off the assault, its powerful shields holding. But then, in a brilliant flash of light, the shields failed and the ship began to break apart. A stunned silence fell over both fleets as the Krell flagship disintegrated. Then, as if a spell had been broken, the remaining Krell ships began to retreat, jumping to hyperspace in a chaotic exodus. On the surface of New Hope, the Krell ground forces, suddenly cut off from orbital support and leadership, quickly surrendered. As the dust settled and the adrenaline of battle began to fade, the true impact of what had transpired began to sink in. The Galactic Council, a coalition of mostly peaceful species, had stood its ground against one of the most feared military powers in the galaxy, and they had won. But as Governor Chen looked out over the damaged but unconquered city of New Hope, he knew that this victory came with a heavy price. The path to lasting peace would not be an easy one. In orbit, Admiral Rodriguez slumped in her command chair, the weight of command finally showing on her face. "Send word to the Council," she said quietly. "The Battle of New Hope is over. We've held the line. But this is just the beginning." As news of the victory spread across Council space, celebrations erupted on countless worlds. But for those who had been on the front lines, the mood was more somber. They had demonstrated that they could fight if needed, but the real challenge lay ahead, turning this moment of triumph into a lasting peace. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see how the Krell would respond to this unprecedented defeat, and wondering what role humanity and its allies would play in shaping the new galactic order. A new understanding. In the weeks following the Battle of New Hope, the galaxy held its collective breath. The decisive victory of the Galactic Council forces had sent shockwaves through known space, reshaping the balance of power and challenging long-held assumptions about strength and peace. On Earth, in the sprawling complex of the Galactic Coordination Center, representatives from every council species gathered for an emergency session. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of triumph, apprehension, and the weighty responsibility of charting a course forward. Admiral Elena Rodriguez, still bearing the fatigue of battle, stood before the assembled delegates. Her voice, though tired, carried the unmistakable tone of someone who had seen the face of war and emerged changed. "We stand at a crossroads," she began, her eyes scanning the diverse crowd. "Our victory at New Hope has proven that united, we can defend ourselves against any threat. But if we are to forge a lasting peace, we must do more than simply repel aggression. We must understand it, and ultimately, transform it." As she spoke, holographic displays flickered to life, showing the aftermath of the battle. The images were a stark reminder of the cost of conflict, even when fought in defense. Dr. Amelia Chen stepped forward, her expression somber but determined. "In the heat of battle, we made an unprecedented breakthrough in understanding Krell psychology," she reported. "The Groltak infiltrators managed to access their central databases, giving us invaluable insights into their culture and motivations." The assembled delegates leaned forward, eager to hear more about their enigmatic adversaries. "The Krell," Dr. Chen continued, "are driven by a deeply ingrained belief that constant expansion and conquest are necessary for their species' survival. It's not mere aggression, but a fundamental fear of stagnation and vulnerability." This revelation sent murmurs through the crowd. The idea that their fearsome enemy was motivated by fear itself was a perspective shift that few had anticipated. Zelna, the Zarquin elder who had been instrumental in forging the human-Zarquin alliance, raised a luminescent tentacle. "Then perhaps our path forward is not through more conflict, but through demonstrating a different way of existence, one where cooperation leads to greater strength than conquest ever could." The discussion that followed was intense and wide-ranging. Some delegates argued for pressing their military advantage, to force the Krell into submission. Others advocated for immediate diplomatic outreach, hoping to capitalize on the shock of defeat to bring them to the negotiating table. It was a young human diplomat, Lisa Kazuki, who proposed a middle path. "What if we combine our approaches?" she suggested. "We maintain our defensive readiness, but we also extend an invitation, not to surrender, but to join us, to learn and to teach." Her proposal was met with skepticism at first, but as the idea was discussed and refined, a new strategy began to take shape. The Galactic Council would establish a series of neutral zones on the borders of Krell space. These areas would serve as places of cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, and mutual learning. "We'll show them that there's strength in diversity," Admiral Rodriguez said, warming to the idea. "That the power of our united fleet comes not just from our ships and weapons, but from the combined knowledge and perspectives of all our species." As the plan was put into motion, the galaxy watched and waited. The first neutral zone, established in a star system equidistant from Council and Krell space, was named Concordia. Its very existence was a statement of intent, a bridge between two vastly different worldviews. Months passed, and slowly, cautiously, the first Krell ships approached Concordia. They came not as conquerors, but as wary explorers, curious about the power that had so decisively defeated them. The meetings that followed were tense, often difficult, but ultimately productive. Krell warriors found themselves engaged in philosophical debates with Zarquin pacifists. Human diplomats and scientists worked alongside their Krell counterparts, each learning from the other's strengths. Gradually, a new understanding began to emerge. The Krell, for the first time in their history, were exposed to the idea that cooperation could be a form of strength, that diversity could be an asset rather than a weakness. It was not an easy process. There were setbacks, moments of tension that threatened to erupt into renewed conflict. But each time, the lessons learned at the Battle of New Hope served as a reminder of what was at stake. A year after the battle, in a ceremony broadcast across both Council and Krell space, a historic treaty was signed. The Krell hegemony, while not fully joining the Galactic Council, agreed to cease its expansionist activities and engage in peaceful trade and cultural exchange. As the signatories, Human, Zarquin, Silithian, Groltak, and Krell, stood together, Admiral Rodriguez couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. "We came to the stars seeking knowledge and friendship," she mused to Dr. Chen, who stood beside her. "We found conflict, yes, but through it, we forged something greater than we could have imagined." Amelia nodded, her eyes on the diverse group of beings mingling peacefully before them. "We showed the galaxy that being peaceful doesn't mean being helpless. That strength can be found in unity, in diversity, in the willingness to stand firm for one's principles while remaining open to understanding others." As news of the treaty spread, celebrations erupted across countless worlds. The fear that had gripped the galaxy for so long began to give way to hope and excitement about the future. On Earth, in classrooms and public spaces, a new saying began to circulate, one that encapsulated humanity's role in this new galactic era. "In peace, we extend a hand of friendship. In conflict, we stand unbroken. We are humanity. Peaceful, not harmless." The stars, once a source of wonder and then of fear, now shone with the promise of a new age of exploration and cooperation. Humanity, along with its allies, had not just secured its place among the stars. It had helped to reshape the very nature of galactic civilization. As ships from 100 worlds set out to explore the now peaceful stars, the message was clear. The greatest adventures, the most profound discoveries, lay not in conquest, but in the combined strength of a united galaxy. The journey had been long and fraught with danger, but as humanity looked to the future, it did so not with fear, but with hope. For they had learned and taught one of the most important lessons of all. That true strength lies not in the ability to wage war, but in the wisdom to forge peace.